Welcome to this overview of Brianna Wiest's book, The Mountain is You, which is subtitled Transforming Self-Sabotage into Self-Mastery. This book is about what we call self-sabotage, but is really just the skills we've developed to live a life we really don't want to be living. The upside is we already know what we don't like about our lives, and the things that trigger us are showing us the wounds that are holding us back. The downside is we must release and mourn the loss of the person we were when we incurred those wounds, because that version of us is not equipped to carry us forward to where we really want to be. Therefore, the conquering of our mountain starts with recognizing we are the only thing holding us back. And that is because our self-sabotage is serving an unconscious need we either aren't aware of or aren't acknowledging. Therefore, the conquering of our mountain requires us to reconcile the two parts of us, the conscious and the unconscious. Sometimes self-sabotage is the result of long-held and unexamined fears about ourselves and the world, and the fear we will not be able to cope with something if it occurs. The problem is, over time, these beliefs become attachments and can show up in symptoms that need to be resolved at the root cause, which is why self-sabotage is one of the first signs that something needs to change in our inner narrative. The biggest issue, though, is that what we believe about our life is what we will make true about our life. For example, if you describe yourself as an anxious person, you will react anxiously even when others aren't anxious. Or you may hold the belief a salary figure is the best you will ever be able to do, and you hold on to that because it is safer to have that salary than to try for something better and end up with nothing at all. So to truly heal, we are going to have to become aware of our beliefs that aren't serving us so we can release them and then take on beliefs that will serve us. We generally lump the beliefs that do not support us under the umbrella procrastination, but really they fall under a number of headings. One is called uprooting. This is when we go so far and then pull the plug and start again, which occurs when, in the analogy of spring, we are only comfortable with sprouting rather than fully blossoming. The solution is to recognize what was driving our decisions and then get clarity on what we want long term and what it would look like to build connections to get there. But most importantly, when we get to the point we would normally pull the plug, we confront the discomfort so we can figure out why we are uncomfortable with seeing this thing through. The upside of this is we get to look clearly at what we are resisting, which is great because resistance is different to procrastination. Resistance takes two forms. First, it is the way of slowing down because you are hitting the upper limit of your comfort zone. Second, it can be a warning to step back and regroup. If it is the first sort of resistance, the solution is to refocus on what you want, why you want it, and when you want it by, as this will reorientate you to recognizing you are growing and that by taking things at a pace you are comfortable with, you can push out your comfort zone without feeling overwhelmed. The second is recognizing that we may have limited emotional processing skills. And to overcome our limited emotional processing skills, we need to get clear on what happened, validate our feelings, and determine our course correction. Another resistance issue to be aware of is justification, which are the reasons we give for the difference between our intentions and our outcomes, but is in effect the thing we prioritized as more important than our stated intent. Other forms of resistance are disorganization and busyness, as they become a distraction that serves to keep us safe from thriving, because nothing positive grows out of chaos. But behind all these things is the greater issue of we are attached to what we say we don't want. Therefore, we also need to ask ourselves, do I really want this thing I say I want? For example, pride can be a form of attachment. This job gives me status and money. I'm proud of what I've achieved. Do I really want to give that up? Another thing to look into deeper is judging others, not only because we know it stops us connecting in a healthy or positive way, but because it can lead us to resenting others who have what we want, rather than learning from them so we can have it too, which can cement us onto our path as we've created a subconscious belief that what they are or have is wrong and therefore not something we should have. However, sometimes the hardest part is recognizing we are in a self-sabotage cycle because the signs can be very subtle. However, we can prime ourselves to recognize when we are more aware of what we don't want than what we do want, or we're trying to impress other people rather than being ourselves, or we are running away from dealing with things, or we're doing things that leave us feeling empty, or we're treating our coping mechanisms such as drinking as the issue, or we're waiting for someone else to make it happen for us. Because those things help us to identify our real core commitment. As nothing is irrational or unpredictable, the real need the behaviour is serving is just not obvious. To start the process of no longer self-sabotaging, allow the emotions you are feeling to come up so you can acknowledge how you are feeling. Then ask yourself why you are feeling this way. From there, ask yourself, is there something you need to learn? But mostly, you need to honour your feelings. Because at the end of the day, your feelings are all about you, not the person or thing that triggered you. And keep repeating this process because different scenarios will trigger different emotions. However, also know your triggers are the guides to your freedom because they allow you to dig deeper into who you are as a person and what you really want and need out of life. Therefore, the key is to listen to yourself and to respond in real time. When you start listening to yourself, you may find it difficult to tell the difference between helpful and unhelpful thoughts, as both are immediate. However, helpful thoughts are calm, rational, and help you both in the present and to see other possibilities. They come from within and are easy to let go, even if you don't like what they're telling you. And taking on board the things you don't want to hear will require strengthening your emotional intelligence because your brain is governed by the impulse to keep you right where you are. This means real change will come through micro shifts in your day-to-day way of living until you reach a tipping point that leads to your breaking through to a new way of being. And you can do a micro shift right now, no preparation necessary. But keep in mind, anything new will feel uncomfortable until it's familiar. So be prepared, you may feel anxious or irritable. Did hearing that make you feel resistance about even trying? If it did, know we often resist the things we want because it requires us to face up to things we wish to continue to ignore. But if we think through the situation, we will know we can survive anything that happens because we've survived before and we're strong enough to survive again. The early advice Brianna gives is if we truly want to change our lives, we are going to have to stop being in denial about our life and decide we love ourselves enough to stop settling for less than we really deserve. And part of this is realizing we evolve as our self-image does. So give yourself credit for everything you've ever overcome or built that you never thought you would. And keep in mind, as long as we just keep trying, we will find a way forward. And getting to that point takes accepting we can only move forward if we start doing something new. And that requires taking one step today and another tomorrow, piece by piece, day by day. This is an easy-to-read book packed full of explanations of why things haven't worked out in the past and signposts for how they can. Brianna poses a number of scenarios to assist us to work through the concepts she is covering, together with solutions, exercises, and tools that assist us once and for all to answer the question, why do I keep doing this? And confirm there's no such thing as self-sabotage, because the behaviours we think are holding us back are really just meeting our needs, and there are better, healthier ways to fulfill those needs. And even better, one day the mountain that was in front of you will be so far behind you it will be barely visible, but the person you became to climb it will be with you forever. Thank you for viewing this video. Please like and subscribe and click on the notification bell to be advised when further book overviews are uploaded. And to help me grow this channel's reach, please share the link with others.